Totals for week 16. Total expenses were $1,491 at 61 cents per mile. Total revenue was $3,800 at $1.56 per mile. That brought our net settlement to $2,308 at 95 cents per mile. Welcome back to Trucking the Seven Seas. This is episode number 95, and in this episode, we're going to go over week 16 of running my own authority. For this week, we end up taking a long load from the Chicago area to the Los Angeles area before taking a short load to Phoenix, Arizona. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I started this channel in order to show exactly what truck drivers make. Started as a company driver, working for night transportation, moved on to a lease operator, working for night transportation, then an owner-operator, working for Landstar, and now we are an owner-operator running our own authority. I show all the loads I take, what the revenue is, what the expenses are, and I compile all this information that I put into a spreadsheet that I share with you at the end of every video. So if this is a topic that interests you, follow the channel. But some announcements before we begin. I've decided I'm going to keep doing those DAT load board videos. They do okay, and you guys seem to like them. So they're easy to make, and I think it's totally in line with what I'm doing here, just showing what truck drivers make. So I'll keep pumping them out maybe a couple of times per week, just showing you different areas and what the rates are paying. So just be prepared for that. I'll be producing more DAT load board videos. Second announcement is I'll be taking some time off in the coming weeks. So I always take some time off around the 4th of July to go visit family in the Pacific Northwest and the Reno area. So I'll be doing that this week and next week. So this paycheck doesn't have any time off on it, but next week and the week after is going to. So that's coming, and there may not be any videos for a little while, so I might go a couple of weeks without making a video. So just be prepared for that. There may not be a video for 2, maybe even 3 weeks after this. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into the market conditions segment of the video. So as mentioned last week, I'm going to start doing a quick market conditions update every week. So going to use the DAT information I have available to show you what the market looks like. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cover the van market conditions according to DAT. I'm just going to focus on van right now. That's what I run. So that's what we're going to focus on. In the future, I may add in flatbed and reefer, but since I run van, we're just going to do van for right now. This is going to evolve a little bit. So yeah, these market condition updates are going to evolve a little bit. So just be prepared for that. But for right now, we're just going to go over the van market conditions according to DAT. So for the van demand and capacity, there's still no change. I don't think this thing changes from week to week. I believe it is month to month, but we're going to go over it week to week anyway, just to cover our bases here. So this is showing May. It is currently June, so this information is a little bit old, but the same thing still applies to last week. It's really the South that's doing quite well. Texas and Georgia are right now really on fire. I think as a region, Texas is the best region right now. That's where you want to be. However, Atlanta is also excellent. So if you're in anywhere in this area, you're doing well. So that's good. And then Phoenix is fine as well. Arizona, I mean, it shows the entire map of Arizona, but really it's just Phoenix. And that's currently where I am. So we're doing pretty good there. And then for Nevada, Reno and Vegas are the two ones you want to go to. I think mostly Reno, now that I'm thinking about it. I think Reno is probably the best market in Nevada. They're building a bunch of facilities there up in the Reno area, specifically Sparks. So you got that going for you. And then, of course, I always mention, while California isn't that great, Los Angeles still is good. And I never saw any problems with the tariffs. So the port area, I know the ports kind of died for a little while there. But in terms of the market conditions in the Los Angeles area, I didn't see any issues there. So there's that. I would still stay out of the Midwest. It's just not good up there. I was there last week, and it just wasn't good. Pennsylvania, I think there's a little deception there. I don't think Pennsylvania is that good, and neither is places like West Virginia and stuff like that. So really, I would just stick along the southern portion of the United States here. That's where the best area seems to be. But there is a problem, and that is it's getting very hot, and you're going to have to start idling your engine. So that is a problem, and that does cost you. And yeah, you're just going to have to deal with that. But that's the market update right there. All right, then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the van load to truck ratio on a graph here. So this shows 2025 van load to truck ratio, 2024 van load to truck ratio, and 2023. You can see the colors right there. And you want this number higher. So right now, the van load to truck ratio is higher in 2025 than it has been in 2024 and 2023. So that's good. So theoretically, the rates should be better than they were last year and the year before. They don't seem to be. So, you know, that's something to note. Sometimes you'll have information like this and it'll show, oh yeah, the rates should be better, but then they're actually not. But that's what it looks like from year to year. So this shows 2023, 2024, 2025 van load to truck ratios, and we are technically doing better this year. However, I haven't noticed anything in the rates, so there's that. All right, and then this is just another map that shows national van rates according to region. You'll see that the South, Texas, and the Midwest are showing as the best rates, and then up here in the New England territories, Pennsylvania to Maine, the worst, and then the West Coast is still bad. Now, I keep seeing a lot of data saying that the Midwest is good, but when I actually go there, it's not. So I question this. I question that a lot. I don't think it's as good as DAT is indicating. In fact, I know it's not. I know that the Midwest is not paying as good as the South right now. That's just not the case. So just be aware of that. I don't technically believe this. I do believe, yeah, that's about right, and that's about right. That's pretty good there. So that is noteworthy. And then this is so low right here because basically the entire Pacific Northwest, Salt Lake City, Colorado, those markets are always dead. So this number, basically those regions drag down the entire West Coast. Again, if you're in about this region right here, Los Angeles, Vegas, and Phoenix, you're going to get out of there just fine. Reno is also okay. So just be aware of that. The West Coast constantly has a low rate per mile because of basically the Pacific Northwest, I would really, and then some of these other areas. There's no freight up here in the northern portion. So just be aware of that. This number gets dragged down significantly because of this region. But if you're out over here around Los Angeles, you're going to be doing just fine. All right, and then finally we'll go over the van rates on a 12-month basis. So this just shows what the van spot rates and the van contract rates have paid over the last year. So spot rates are what I'm doing. So I'm working the spot market, just going on the load boards and trying to find loads available. And that is the orange-ish color right there. And then the contracted freight is the freight that the carriers will work out with shippers and receivers. So for instance, Night Transportation has a contract with Walmart to haul Walmart's loads. And that's when you start to get into things like drop and hooks and stuff like that. So the contracted freight always pays more than the spot market rate. So that's why it shows both. But yeah, just be advised that I don't have access to the contracted rate. Now, technically, as a carrier, I could start making contracted rate with shippers, something I'm looking into in the future, but for right now, I'm not doing that. And yeah, just be advised that this is contract rate and this is spot rate, but I'm just running the spot market, so this is what's relevant here, the spot rate, which is this one right here. And as you can see, there's basically been no change over the course of the last year. It's basically flatlined. So 205 in June of 2024, so that was last year, and currently we are at 201, so it actually went down by about 3 cents, basically no change. And then the contracted rate is at 239 right now, whereas last year it was at 242. So same thing, it's down like 3 cents, which is basically nothing. So yeah, there's that. So this is the van rates over the course of the year, and you can see they pretty much flatlined with the exception of January for some reason. Not sure why that is, but yeah, they bumped up in January, but that's about it. So there is the van rates for spot and contract rates. There you go. All right, so there's the market update for this video. Let me know what you think of those. That'll evolve a little bit over time. I may eventually add in flatbed and reefer, but for right now, that was the market update, and please let me know what you think. But last episode, we left off in Ottawa, Illinois. So we dropped a load in Ottawa, Illinois, and that was Thursday. And then we woke up Friday, and we're trying to find a long load to get me through the weekend. So I was looking around, making multiple offers on multiple loads in the Chicago area. So Ottawa, Illinois is right next to Chicago. So I was looking around in that area and made about 20 or 30 offers, and nobody was biting. And this is why I don't think the Midwest is as good as it indicates, as the data indicates, because I've been doing this. Well, I did that that day, so 20 or 30 loads that day. And if you remember, about a month and a half ago, I ended up not being able to find a load out of Chicago over the weekend and sat for a couple of days in Chicago. So starting to have flashbacks for about that. Basically, I thought, okay, am I going to have to sit again because I can't find anything? So made all those offers, and then finally, I just posted my truck on actually it was a TQL load board app. So you just post your truck saying, hey, my truck is available for anyone who needs a load. And I was pretty much like, okay, I'll haul anything. So as long as it was over about 1,000 miles, I was going to be happy because I just needed to take something through the weekend. So waited, and then I got a call from TQL saying they had a load going from Itasca, Illinois to Ontario, California. So I was interested, and I ended up booking that load right here. So that is what I ended up booking. So this is Itasca, Illinois, which is Chicago, going to Ontario, California. Now, last episode, you remember I booked a load from Ontario, California, going to Greenwood, Indiana, and that load paid $2 per mile, and this one pays $1.37 per mile. So those loads are basically identical, like they're just back and forth. Indiana is only about 100 miles from Chicago, so it's not that insane, maybe 150 miles. So they're basically identical loads going back and forth. And this is one thing you need to know about going to a place like Ontario or Los Angeles. It pays really good going out and pays really bad going in. But if you average it out, it is averaging to about $1.70 per mile for a 2,000 mile load, which, again, that's not good, but that's basically what the market is paying these days. For loads like that, 2,000 miles, they're paying about $1.70. That's what I'm experiencing if you're going on the spot market. Maybe some of the other brokers are paying better, but right now I don't have access to those brokers. My MC is only 4 months old, so I don't have access to many of the brokers. I'm really still pretty much limited to TQL and CH Robinson. I just got access to RXO as well, but they're just, they pay about the same. So just be advised of that. If you go into and out of Ontario, it's a good rate going out, but a bad rate going in, and it's going to average to about $1.70 per mile, and that's pretty much what I've been experiencing. So anyways, going to Ontario, very bad rate, but we should be able to get out of there for a good rate. So anyways, let's go to Ontario, California. All right, so we dropped that Ontario, California load, and then I was looking for another one. And at this point, I was looking to stay on the West Coast because I'm taking some time off. And if I took a load to like Atlanta or something like that, I wasn't going to be able to get back in time for my planned time off to visit family. So I was looking just to pretty much stay on the West Coast, and anywhere on the West Coast was good. I mean, I maybe I would go to Texas or something like that. That would have been fine. But I was really looking to stay local. So I was looking around, and I ended up finding this load right here. This one's going from Buena Park, California to Tolson, Arizona. Buena Park is pretty close to Ontario, just 30 miles away. And then Tolson is Phoenix. And I thought this was fine. Pays really well. So again, loads going into Los Angeles pay excellent. Loads going out. Loads going into Los Angeles pay bad, but loads going out pay really good. So I found this one going to Tolson, Arizona, which is Phoenix. And then from Phoenix, I was planning on just grabbing something up potentially to Montana or something like that, or Idaho, or maybe Salt Lake or something like that, and just hanging around in that area, and then just heading back to Reno afterward to take some time off. So that was basically my plan. So I booked this load right here, and now we're going to Tolson, Arizona, which is Phoenix. Let's go. Okay, so I dropped that one in Tolson and then did a reset. So dropped it Wednesday, reset Thursday, and now it's actually Friday, so you're seeing this in real time. And at this point, I am looking to potentially grab a load to maybe Montana, maybe Spokane, maybe Boise, Idaho, or something like that, because I wanted to test the market in terms of like grabbing a load from like Phoenix and then just going to somewhere absolutely dead, like Butte, Montana, or something like that, and then deadheading back to Reno and seeing how that works. Now, I don't know if it's going to work, to be honest, but I'm looking at the rates. They pay like $3.50, anywhere between $3 and $3.50 to go up to like Salt Lake or Butte or Boise or something like that. And then you have to deadhead to Reno basically at that point. There's nothing else. You could grab something really like a really trash load to Ontario for like 60 cents a mile or something ridiculous like that. But in my opinion, it's not worth your time. So that's what I'm actually planning on doing right now. So I'm filming this on Friday, and I'm trying to find a load up to maybe Montana or Idaho or Salt Lake or something like that, or maybe just up to the Pacific Northwest, Portland or something like that. So I'm looking around right now, and currently can't find anything. So it's still early in the morning, so looking around. But with all that said, we are going to take some time off next week. I don't yet have a load going to the Pacific Northwest or Montana or something like that. So as a result, the Tolson, Arizona load is going to be the last load. on this paycheck. So we're going to get into the spreadsheet right now. All right, so as discussed, we're going to cover week 16 in this video. So let's do it. For week 16, we did 2 loads. In those 2 loads, we got 2,434 miles. Paid a total of $3,800 at $1.56 per mile. Fuel expenses, we fueled up one time for $439 at 18 cents per mile. And there were no maintenance expenses this week. Other expenses, hotels $180, tolls $169, scales $14 for a total of $364 at 15 cents per mile. Fixed costs, trailer payment came in at $687 for 28 cents per mile. Totals for week 16, total expenses were $1,491 at 61 cents per mile. Total revenue was $3,800 at $1.56 per mile. That brought our net settlement to $2,308 at 95 cents per mile. Okay, so caveats for week 16. There's quite a few of them. Overall, this was not that great. I mean, this load right here to Ontario, again, $1.37 per mile. You're going to Ontario, so that's about what it's going to pay. It does pay about $2 per mile going the other way on the load like this, so averages out to about $1.70 per mile for 2,000 mile loads. So that is relevant. We're kind of short on the revenue because of that. This load right here, totally fine. I mean, if you run like Fontana to Phoenix back and forth, you're doing fine. You could even theoretically deadhead it. Sort of. It would pay like $1 or about $1.60 per mile both ways, but half of it's empty. So it is interesting. You could theoretically just run from Fontana to Phoenix and back, and just deadhead back, and you might be doing okay there. I don't know. I might try it one day, but it is kind of low on the revenue. However, you are empty half the time, but that's an interesting note. But for this one, went one direction there to Phoenix. That load was perfectly fine. And overall, not a terrible week, just not very good. The revenue is pretty low and the rate per mile is pretty low, mostly because this load right here. So there's that. All right, and then my fuel expense is very low because right now I'm like less than a quarter tank. So I took a day off on less than a quarter tank. So there's about an entire fuel up missing here. So I don't know, $400 or something. So this should be about twice as high as it is. And next week we're gonna have a high fuel bill because this is low right here, and some of the fuel bill was probably on last week as well. So that's what's going on there. Other expenses. So I did grab a hotel in Phoenix. 2 days actually. So I got here Wednesday, grabbed a hotel, stayed in the hotel till Friday. It was 115 degrees outside. So at that point, not only does the APU not work, also just the truck engine can barely keep up with that. So you're just sitting there baking, and you're having to idle the engine for like anywhere between 10 and 20 hours at that point. I just had to idle my engine the entire time. And again, I think it's around $5 an hour to idle your engine. So, if I idle it for 15 hours, it's about $80, something like that. And, if I go get a hotel, well, I don't have to worry about parking. I don't have to worry about a shower. I don't have to worry about anything. And I get a nice room to myself. So I think it's fine, especially when it's that hot outside. And I would have baked in here. So I got a hotel for a couple of nights. This is actually 2 nights. So I think that's fine. You will see me do this in the summer, especially in regions like Phoenix or Texas or Atlanta, because it gets really hot. In the winter, I basically never do this because it's not, I don't have to idle my engine. But in this instance, yeah, I got a hotel. It was like 115 degrees outside, and I wasn't doing that. And the hotel had a pool, so I got to go swim. So that's what I did, and I don't regret it. All right, tolls came in $169. So this is from Pennsylvania, I believe. The tolls settle after like a week, so like they don't charge you like by the moment you go through the toll booths. It's like they settle it after a week or something like that. So I got this toll right here. I don't think that's all of them. I think that's only like part of them. So I do believe I'll get a bigger bill probably next week as well. But this is from the Pennsylvania tolls last week. And then I scaled one time for $14. And then that equated to $364 at 15 cents per mile. There you go. All right, fixed costs. I did have my trailer payment come in for $687, and that was actually it. So there's that. Next week, I do have my insurance payment coming in, so that's $2,000, so that's going to hurt. So yeah, there's that. Just the trailer payment this week. Okay, yeah, and then there's week 16. Not bad. Decent. Not a whole lot of fixed costs here, and my fuel bill is actually quite low. Revenue is quite low, so it's whatever. 95 cents per mile, $2,300. Not bad. Not bad. Hopefully things get better. I think they will get better, but I've been saying that for a while, and so far nothing's got better. But anyways, there is week 16. So let's go ahead and go over the overalls now. All right, total since starting the program. Driven a total of 39,728 miles. Total expenses have been $54,309 at $1.37 per mile, and that is my cost per mile. Total revenue has been $70,426 at $1.77 per mile. That brings our total profit loss to $16,117 at 41 cents per mile, and all of these loads are dry van. Okay, yeah, so there's totals since starting the program. These do include the startup costs that we'll go over here in a second, but we're getting up there. I mean, obviously that's not good, 41 cents per mile, but considering at the start of the year I was negative $18,000 in the hole, that is noteworthy that this is almost starting to we're back in the green, right? So we're doing a little bit better there, even with the startup costs. So that's interesting. So yeah, there's overall so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll to the top, and we're going to go to the very top here. So if you're a new viewer, these are my startup costs. So this is what it took to get my authority active. In my case, it cost me $18,000 just in startup costs to get everything going. That was mostly due to insurance premiums, DMV fees, and the trailer down payment. So all in all, it cost me 18 grand to get this company up and running. So what I'm going to do for theoretical purposes, I'm just going to delete the startup costs and scroll back down. So we're just scrolling down. And then we're going to go over my totals without the startup costs. Now, the startup costs absolutely count, but this will give us a better idea of what I would make on a weekly basis, just so you have just so you have a better idea. So let's do it. All right, totals without startup costs. Total expenses are $36,052 at 91 cents per mile, and that is my cost per mile without startup costs. Total revenue has been $70,426 at $1.77 per mile, and that brings our total profit loss to $34,374 at 87 cents per mile without startup costs. Okay, yeah, so there is my profit without startup costs, 87 cents per mile, and that keeps creeping up, so that's good. No maintenance expenses lately, so looking okay there. I expect this to probably fall around $1 per mile by the end of the year once everything levels out. Once I start getting access to more brokers, and once summer starts, I think that's going to go up to around $1 per mile. We'll see though. And when comparing that to Landstar, I could tell you it's basically looking to be pretty much identical, give or take, by the end of the year. So I think on a yearly basis, if you compare running your own authority to running with Landstar, on a 1 year timeline, it's going to be almost identical, is what I'm seeing. However, I do believe that next year, once I have access to all the brokers and everything, I'm just running a little bit better, I do believe I will make more running my own authority than running a Landstar. Time will tell, but so far we're making almost identical to Landstar pay, and we'll see how it looks at the end of the year. But yeah, there's my totals without startup costs. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and go over averages and other information. So let's do it. Averages and other information. Average weekly paycheck is 2,092 miles. Average weekly miles is 2,418. Total fuel costs have been $14,000 at 37 cents per mile. My total fuel savings with the OTR fuel card has been $1,337. Price per gallon has averaged out to $3.18. Maintenance costs have been $7,419 at 19 cents per mile. If I kept this up for a 52-week period, I'd make $108,000 and drive 125,000 miles. Total revenue has been $70,000 at $4,200 per week. Deadhead has been 2,700 miles at 7% of total mileage. We've been employed 115 days, or 16 weeks. Taking 7 days off, 108 days on duty, 51 total loads. Average load length is 779 miles. And if I had a $500 truck payment, I would make $26,000 at 66 cents per mile. Okay, so just notes on the averages. $2 grand per week. Not that good, especially since my truck is paid off. Would make $108,000 after a 52-week period. And if you were to back out the $18,000 of startup costs, that equals basically $90,000. So that's, again, not that great. Not looking too hot there. 125,000 miles if I kept this up for a 52-week period. So that's good. That's fine. I think that's fine as a truck driver. 120,000 miles is totally fine. So far, I've saved about $1,300 using the OTR Solutions fuel card. So you guys were asking what fuel card I was using. I'm using the OTR Solutions fuel card. If you were interested in them, there is a link in the About section down below. You can go ahead and use that link and get you set up. I do receive a commission on that, so it does help me out a ton. And if you are interested, though, there's a link in the About section down below, and feel free to use them. Okay, some other small notes. Average load length, 779 miles. I'll probably bump that up in the coming weeks and months. I am intending just to take some longer loads coming up. So I've been taking some shorter loads like that Phoenix load for various reasons, but I think after I take this time off for the 4th of July, I'm going to just bust out like 2,000-mile loads constantly. I just like them better, and that they pay fine. I think they pay fine, so that's just me. So that'll probably go up in the future. And then probably one of the more important columns here, sheets here, whatever you want to call it, is the $500 per week truck payment. So right now my truck is paid off, so I don't have a truck payment. If I did have a $500 per week truck payment, though, I would only have made $26,000 at 66 cents per mile. So that's slam dunk company driver pay. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking about becoming an owner-operator, well, it's not the best time, because if you do have a $500 per week truck payment, you're going to be making about company driver pay, which probably isn't worth it. So just be advised of that. You're probably going to hit about company driver pay. So there's that. Okay, yeah, guys. So there is week 16. Not bad, not good. I'd say this is typical, right? I say this is a typical week. Not great on the revenue, but also low on the expenses. So it kind of canceled out. And then I would expect weeks like this on average. Like I think I'm going to average weeks like this at the end of the year. That would be about that's what I'm guessing. So typical week. We are getting through things. So market's not good right now. It is the slower months. It's turning into the better months. So once summer hits, that's when the market starts to improve a little bit. So I do expect things to go up. I will mention one more time. So this is going to be the last video before the English proficiency becomes law, and it's now enforced. Well, it's law right now, but it's not being enforced. But it's currently the 20th as I'm filming this, and it's going to go into effect on the 25th. So very interesting. I think that's going to be a pretty much instant drop in capacity. I believe that shippers are going to enforce this for their own sake. So if you're a shipper and you get a truck driver show up and that truck driver does not speak English, I'm not loading them, right? I'm not going to load that guy, because if he gets put out of service, then I have my goods on that truck in the middle of nowhere at a DOT way station, and I just have to wait for that carrier to find another driver to get in that truck and drive the truck, right? So I'm guessing this will primarily be enforced by the shippers. That's my guess. I don't know, though. I think it'll be not quite like 100% instance on like the 25th, like, 20-30% of the trucks on the road are going to go out of service. But I do believe that on the 25th, and then when I get back from my break, I think the rates are going to start to improve. That's my guess. That's my hope. We'll see, because this is just not very good right now. So things do need to improve. But there's that. All right, yeah, guys, but that'll do it for this episode. If you're interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, you can find them in the About section down below. After you find them, you can just hit File, Download them to a Microsoft Excel sheet. After you get them on an Excel sheet, you can use them however you please. And if you need a factoring company or a fuel card, you might try OTR Solutions. There's a link in the About section down below, so please use that link. It does help me out a ton. But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.